And for this project, which is kind of the same as the older project, you have to add 4 user interactions, but 2 of which need to be animation related. So just to remind everyone, because this is also recorded, here's an example of what that means. Let's try to click on this. And of course it doesn't want to work immediately, so open link. Okay. And so let's try drawing some stuff. So as you can see here in this demo project, we have different cube types, different animated kind of shapes. Here's a cube, and there's like a multi-cube here, and there's also multi-cylinder here, and all of these are animated. And so that's basically the project. There's a couple of interesting features here, like, change. Let's cancel this for a second. So there's you can actually change the animation type when you click here. So this changes, as you can see, the kind of animation that the drawing will do. So you have 3 animation types here: rotation, whatever, scale. It's just a type. It doesn't have to be exactly what it says. And opacity, of course, glow, size. So today we'll try to implement this feature, which changes the animation type of whatever you're drawing. And this is like an example chart or user flow. Any questions at all on this? No? Okay. So let's get to it. So if you can please open your Unity repo, and we will. What I want to do is I want to start simple. So I want to, and this is like unrelated to animation, but what I want to do is I want to show you how you can hide elements of this canvas using a button or something like that. So to do it, notice that this canvas is kind of like a Unity game object. So if I click on this active checkbox, kind of active or inactive checkbox, some things will kind of fade out of existence and then back in as I activate and deactivate it. So notice that, see, the clock here is still active. So what I can do, I can just drag the clock inside, inside this canvas element, and then when I click on canvas, it actually fades out and fades into existence. So I also want to get rid of this quad at the same time. So let's drag the quad in, and then once I click on and off, it kind of fades into and out of existence. But I do want to keep this title, right? I don't want to have this title fade. I want to have this title still on. Okay, so let's actually, so instead of kind of when you click on canvas here, have everything kind of in and out of existence, what we can do, we can create an empty and have that empty actually be a child object of canvas, and then just deactivate or activate that empty to control what things are gonna kind of fade. So if I create like an empty, create empty, okay, and let's just call this UI, and I'm gonna drag this guy in, and I can just zero it out for starters. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drag all of these objects here and into this UI. Okay, and now when I click UI, it fades in and out of existence, right? So it's basically doing the same thing as whatever Canvas did before. So let's drag, so remember we want to keep this title on. So let's drag this title out of UI. And now like when I click on UI here, it kind of does what we expect it to do. And like just to double check that everything is still working, we didn't break anything. Like I can still draw stuff. And if I click on this, this works also. And if I click on the UI here, so that still works kind of nicely also. And I can still paint, even though I temporarily deactivated the canvas. Okay. So now let's actually add a button that will do that for us. So let's clean objects. Okay, so for that button, let's add just here on canvas. You can just right click here and like click on UI, legacy, button, right? And let's call this hide UI button, okay? And let's just kind of put it somewhere, I don't know, somewhere that's less, like maybe here. And let's make it a bit smaller. And also kind of edit the text here that should be like hide, okay? And let's move this thing. Let's just kind of try to make it look a little bit nicer. Maybe I'll move the clock a little bit here. So clock, you get to move. Oh, that's too much. Let's move it maybe here. No. 20, 19, 21, 21 half, 19 half, 9. Okay, that's almost what I want. That's too much. 20.5. It's kind of very strong movements for some reason for this clock. 20.2. Okay, maybe 20.5. Okay, that's better. So I was just moving this clock. So I want to put this button here on the corner, kind of like mimicking whatever you have on your kind of typical Mac or Windows interface. And let's also move that AM PM button also in that same occasion. Where is this button, by the way? Oh, there's the button. Let's just move it here. Okay. And move this hide button over here. Okay. So the idea is I click on hide and that will kind of deactivate this UI. So when I click on hide, this will kind of deactivate. I will still be able to draw, but then this will change to show. And then when I click on show, it will just deactivate it again. That's the idea. Does this make sense what I'm saying? Okay. So actually, let's check. I'm recording. Yes, this is fine. This looks fine. So to add like a new button, we're gonna follow the same drill as we always do. We double click on our scripting file. Let's wait for this to load. Okay. And then we're gonna, let's cancel this, which is annoying. Then we're gonna click on, well, not click actually, we're gonna follow the logic. We had this logic before. Remember, so here we had like this toggle AM PM button, right? So if you remember, let me just show you what it did. When I clicked on this, it kind of changed the text here of the button and also changed other stuff like the light of the scene. So we're gonna use the same, we're gonna piggyback on the same kind of logic for the hide button. So I'm just gonna copy this as is, and I'm gonna change some things. let's call this hide show UI, and this is hide show UI text, hide show UI text. Just changing the names of a couple of things here. I'm not gonna do anything important yet. UI text. Okay, and this should be, if it's show, then if it's hide, this should be show, and otherwise it should be hide. Okay, something like that. And now I need to add this. It's yelling at me that this is undefined, so I have to actually add it like right here, public. So this is a text object. I show you text. Now this should be okay. So this is kind of just mimicking the logic for the AM/PM bottom. It doesn't do the activate or deactivate of the UI yet, but it's like a stepping stone towards that part. If we go here, hide show UI. So what we need to do, we need to actually add that logic. So click on this plus, and need to drag, just to remind you, I need to drag my where the game object where I control my script here to this spot. Let's do that. And then here I need to select that function that I just built. So that'll be under painting, and that'll be hide show UI. Okay. Let's save this. Now I'm not done yet. A couple more steps. So in this button, I actually, if you look here under the painting manager, I need to actually drag that hide show UI text to this none spot. So in here I have this hide UI button, and I have this text sister kind of child component. Let's just drag that here. Okay. Save. So let's see if this works when I click play and there's no bugs. Okay, so actually, see, you can see the text changing, which is fine. Now, like, we only need to activate or deactivate the actual UI. So what we actually need to do, final part, is actually add this logic where it turns on and off. Okay. So to do that, we need to add. So this is like a game object, right? Everything here in the hierarchy is a game object. So we need to add this UI as a game object in this script. So here, let's add that game object. So it's going to be public game object UI. Okay. And now where is this? Yeah, here. So now basically, if I click hide, then I want to set active. So this is how you kind of turn off components or game objects. Do not delete them, just turn them off. It's just set active is false, and to turn it on, it's just the opposite. Set active is true. Okay. So set active is basically set active kind of mimics this on and off kind of thing here without deleting it like forever. So now what I want to do is I actually need to connect this UI, this entire game object, with my script. So in Painting Manager here, I have the UI over here. So let's just drag this here. Okay, and I think with that, this code should work. Let's see. So, okay, let's just play this and see what happens. So I can draw, okay. And if I click on this, it hides the UI, which is great, and this text changes. And if I click again, it shows the UI. So that's exactly what I wanted. So kudos to ourselves. Great effort. And that's the height show functionality. Okay. So what I want to do is give you like a 2 minutes just to, I don't know, if you want, copy this code or try to implement it on your own, and then I want to move on to animations. Any questions on this? No? Okay. Okay. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna try to do a multi kind of component animation like we see here in the demo. So, and in this multi-component animation, you can actually change the animation type. There's like a drop down here that does that. So it can change the scale, the position. So once I click that, that basically changes the entire animation to a different one. So this is to get this. It's actually pretty a lengthy process, but this is a good time as any to start that. Let's just do a couple of quality of life things first of all. So we have our cube here. This cube is our previous kind of animation construct. You can see it already does its thing, and it has like a sphere. So right now I don't really need this thing. So what I want to do is I just want to put it. I want to still use it in my painting, but I don't want it to be physically here. So I'm just going to drag it here. That basically puts it in my assets as a prefab. And now you can see its color changes here to blue. Okay, so that means it's basically saved. So what I can do now, I can just delete this. Let's delete this like that. And here under, where is that? Under Painting Manager. So I just need to check that I will drag it back in. So see here now it says animated cube missing. So I can just drag this back here, and that should kind of work. And we can check it like yeah, it works. Okay, so that was the first quality of life thing I did. The next thing I want to do is actually create this multi-cube shape. So to start, because I'm going to have 3 cubes, or at least like I think that's what yeah, there's like 3 cubes here. I'm not sure if you can see this, but size. Let's clear this up. So you can see there's like 3 cubes. So I want to create something that looks like that. And those 3 cubes have different animations. So let's do this kind of 3 cube construction over here. So add a new cube. So sorry, before I'm adding a new cube, this is 3 cubes and it's under one kind of game object. So let's create an empty. Call this multi-cube. Okay. And I'm now going to create the cube, and put this guy under that multi-cube. Okay. And let's just call this like cube, and then I need to actually duplicate it another 2 times. Okay. And now I have 3 cubes. Let's change their name to be a bit more cube left. Cube, actually left is not a good name. Let's just call this cube 0. Following this, cube 0, cube 1, cube 2. And now, like, what I can do, you can notice this is like a 3D kind of view. I can just move the cube like this or like this, but it's not really giving me the kind of the exact kind of nice view of where the cubes are, because it's I need like a more engineering kind of view to kind of make this look right. So to do that, I'm gonna actually use this 2D option here. So the 2D option kind of just provides like a 2D kind of side view of this entire scene. And now based on that, I can modify where the cubes will be. So let's do that. Let's just move cubes around a bit, like so. So you can notice since I positioned them like, I positioned this cube on 0, 0, 0, everything is kind of nicely aligned, and you can see actually the grid, kind of the grid marks here. And I can use those grid marks to kind of better design how my cubes will be positioned. So if you look back at this demo, there's like 3 cubes here, and like one is a bit bigger than the 2 others. So let's try to mimic that in this. So let's make this, I don't know, 0.1, something like that maybe. And let's make this a bit smaller. Something like that. And let's move this so it's kind of aligned with those grid marks. Something like so. And save. So if I click on 2D again, it will just bring me back to this 3-dimensional display. Now what I need to do is I want to have an animation that uses these cubes. So to remind you how we do that, we first of all need to click on a game object and add an animator here. Okay. Now we don't have an animator, we actually need to create one and drag it in. So let's do that. So let's create an animator controller. Call this multi-cube animator and drag this multi-cube animator here. Okay. So now we have this animator, but it doesn't have anything in it. So let's work on creating those different animations as you see here. So we have here 3 animations. So we actually need to create 3 animations. Okay. Any questions so far? So far I just kind of did whatever we did last week. Okay, so now's the new stuff. Click here on this multi-cube animation, and let's create an animation. Let's call this multi-cube translate. Okay. And now I'm just reminding you there's a control button here, so you can do it other ways, but I'm just going to use this way for now. So let's say when I get to the 15 mark, where's that? Here. I want to move this guy, and let's move this guy all the way, say here. Actually, sorry, I need to click on the record before that. Let's click on record. So I move this guy all the way here. I'm just using the grid marks as a guide, and this guy will move here. Click record again. Now when it's in the 30th mark, this guy should move back, and this guy should also move back here. And when it's on the 45 mark, this cube should move here, and this cube should move like so. And then when we're on the 60th mark, everything should kind of go back to its original setting. So this guy should move here, and this guy should move here. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it. I'm not like doing any exact coordinates. I'm just using the record button and movement. So let's see if this actually works. Click play. Kind of works, right? Okay, so it's good enough, I guess, for now. So we can actually inspect the animation like here. Right now it's kind of a bit too, well, it's not that hard to see, but so this is like the kind of the positions of the cubes, and you can notice that this thing, I guess, is the middle cube, and it changes the most, this middle line, and those are the kind of the peripheral kind of cubes, periphery cubes. So I can see that it's kind of smooth, so I'm like, it's not like doing anything too jagged. One thing is maybe this transition is a bit bad. Let me see if I can just kind of play with it a little bit, maybe, to make it a bit less, a bit more kind of smoother, maybe. Not sure if I'm not like the best animator here, but this, I'm just kind of slightly modifying it so it's a little bit less. Let me see what it was originally. It was like this. So maybe I will just move it a bit like that. I don't know, just to make it a little bit less kind of abrupt. I don't think you can actually see what I did, but this is just, I think it's actually a bit smoother, but this is like another thing you need to remember. So if your animations are kind of jagged or something, you can actually added them with this curve here, which is right by the dope sheet. Okay, so that was animation number 1. We can actually create a new animation. Before that, you notice that in the animator now we have this animation. It's right here. It's right under this. It's basically the only animation that we have now. So if we create a new animation, and let's do that. So create a new clip here. So let's call this multi-cube rotate. This new animation will show up here in the animator. So basically all the animations associated with this kind of structure, this multi-cube, will show up here in your animator. Right now, only this guy is linked, the translate one. We're gonna show how to link the other ones. So if you don't panic if it's not clear why. I'm gonna get to it in a second. Any questions, by the way? No? Okay. So let's link those. Let's actually work on this multi-cube rotate right now. So multi-cube rotate, I'm just gonna have these guys kind of swirling around the center. Let's go to the 15 mark again and record and drag this cube to be up over here, something like so, and let's maybe a bit like that, and this guy to be also something like this. Okay, and that's one keyframe, and let's have them move onward. So let's go to the 30th mark, click record again, and then just move these kind of guys around and around this object. Like so. And now click record again, go to the 45 mark, record again. So it's kind of a manual process, but it's not too bad. Especially the idea is you're creating this animation and you can then reuse it always and forever. So it's kind of worth your time, especially if you're like working on a fancy stuff. And now let's go to the 60th mark, click record again, and just bring them all back to where they were originally. which is like this. I guess, not sure, so sure, but probably I'm correct on this point. Okay, and then I click on, actually, why did it go away? Huh. Oh, yeah. And actually, let's play this and see if this works. Okay. So this is kind of like what we wanted. Now again, let's go to the dope sheet, the curve, sorry, and see if there's anything wrong here. It looks pretty nice to me. So I don't want to like very smooth and kind of okay. So I don't want to do any edits. It's kind of, for me, it looks perfect. So that was the second animation, and it's right here. Now let's work on the final animation. So again, create new clip, multi-cube scale, okay? And the idea here is that this central guy will kind of scale up and the others will scale down. So let's go to the 50th mark, record, and make this guy way more large than it is right now. I don't know, 2.5 or maybe 4. Okay, something like this. This is pretty gigantic. Could be free. And then like maybe like 3.5 or something. Yeah. And now these guys should shrink. So actually, like, let me click on record again. Actually, I'm noticing I may not need. Let's delete this. I think I just need like 2 keyframes. So let's go to the. So if we're gonna use this entire minute, 60 seconds. Sorry, not minute, like a 60 frames. So I'm just gonna use free kind of free keyframes here, or 2 keyframes. So keyframe num should be 20 probably. So let's do that again here and change this to 3.5, and this should be 3.5, and then this should shrink, I guess. Let's see what is a good size here. No, that's too big. 3 or 4, 5. Kind of hard to say what exact. Okay, 5 is a good size, and this guy should also be a 0.5. Okay, that was our first keyframe, and now let's go to the 40th minute, and then they supposedly should shrink there. So let's get this guy back to his original state. I think that was 2, I'm not sure. And this was, let's make this back 0.75. Oh no, sorry, so in this point, these guys I think should expand. Let's just make it so they expand. 1.75, 1.75. And also this guy will expand. 1.75. You can play around with it. Like whatever I'm doing now is not really like, the exact kind of mechanics of the scale is not really important. Just important that they change a bit for your animation purposes. And that's fine. And now let's go to, I think, the final mark and just bring them back to the original state. So that should be 0.75 here, and here, and here, and here. And this should be, I think, 1.5. I don't remember. Do you remember what it was? Was it 2? We can just check. It was 1.5. Okay. So multi-cube scale. So let's go back to this point. So here it should be 1.5. Okay, let's play this and see that it does something cool, and it does do that something cool stuff. Cool, great. Okay, so let's summarize. We have 3 animations now, which we laboriously created. We have this animation, the scale one, the rotate one, and the translate one. Okay. Now, the only thing is, if you look at our animator here, the only thing that's connected is translate, and scale and rotate are not connected. So let's like actually get them connected. So this is like the new stuff. Let's right click here on multi-cube translate. Let's change this to be so. Okay, right click here and click on make transition and just put an arrow here. And let's like another transition here and then another transition here. So what does this arrow mean? That means that once you're in this animation, it's kind of like a state machine. You can move here, and that's it. And once you're in here, you can move here. And once you're in here, you can move here. You can basically change the animation type here. But if you look at the demo here, we can actually change to all these kind of different types at the whim. So that means we actually need arrows going in all different directions. So let's make another arrow here, this guy and another arrow here, and this guy and another arrow right here. Okay, so we're not done yet. Let me show you what these arrows are. So if you click on an arrow, let's say click on this guy, click on an arrow. So you can actually see the transition kind of as like a component of, so what happens here is you have one animation, which is like this one, and it moves on to a different animation, which is this one. So it it tries to do that like in a way that is smooth. And let's show you how this works. So you can actually see that transition here on this kind of bottom view. Okay, and then you can notice if there's any bugs or anything. I can already notice some, I think maybe something off of my thing, but it's not that major, so I'm just gonna let it be for now. And same thing for the other transitions. So you start here and then you go to this one. So that kind of works for all of these animations. So you can see some artifacts here with the transition that they're not exactly aligned, and you can try to fix it, like by say changing the transition length, or changing when the transition should start, and so on. It's not that critical for now, and that was basically making it worse. Let's try to do it this way. Anyway, it's not important. Just maybe we can go over this in a different time. The important point is we have these transitions and we have this free animations. Let's now think of how to get this to work kind of programmatically. So to do that, we need like some sort of signal to tell the animator to change from one animation to another. And the way we do it is using like a parameter. So if you go here under the animator, there's like layers and parameters. Like we're gonna add a parameter. So let's click on plus here, and let's add an integer parameter, and let's just call this state. Okay. So the idea is, and this is kind of like a visual programming thing. Here the state will be 0. With this animation, the state will be 1, and with this animation, the state will be 2. Okay. So if I click on this, let's say this should be 1 if you're moving here, and if you're moving here, state should be 0. So what I did is I just click on the transition itself, clicked on the plus here, and like said state equals 1. and here state equals 0. And same thing for this guy. State equals so here this will be 2. State equals 2, and this should be state equals 1, because this is going to be, so it's, if state equals 1, it will move here. And here state equals 0, because this will be 0, and if it points here, that means state equals 2. Okay, so 2, 0, because it's going here, 0, because it's going here, 1, because it's going here. This should be 2, so equals 2, equals 1. Okay, so I think this is fine. Let's actually try to see how it works. And if you go to animator here, like now the state is always 0, sorry, because I didn't change it. But if you change it, you can just change it manually, and you will see that it kind of changes to a different animation. Okay. Any questions on this? No? We're all good? Any questions at all? Okay. So this should, if this works well, now we can actually deal with actually adding it to the code. So if we go to the code, if you look here in the demo, there is like a button here, that drop down, sorry, that changes this animation logic. So let's work on adding that button first of all, before we do the script changes. Right, so let's go. We can click on 3D for now. And where's my canvas? Let's just kind of change I don't like this kind of orientation, so let's move this way. Okay, it's a bit better like that. Okay, something like so. So let's add that button. I already have a drop down here. Where is that drop down? Here. So I can just kind of copy this logic, the drop down logic, and put it up. And I also have the label here. Let's just copy this and drag this up. Change this animation type, changing all the names here. And let's also change the text fields. So this should be animation type. Might have to make it a bit longer or wider, sorry. Something like this. And for the drop down, let's see, let's just, so right now it has those sphere, cube, cylinder, whatever. Let's just change it. So we're just changing animations, right? So let's just call this anim1, anim2, and anim3. Okay. And let's actually, so if you click on the drop down, so we need to actually kind of connect we don't have the right function that uses this, so let's add that. If you go to our code again, so the function that does that, let's see, it was, we don't have a function for that. So let's create one. So let's call this, what did I call it? Let's just call this public void change animation, right? And this function gets like an integer, because drop downs send over integers when you kind of communicate with your script. So it's integer animation type. Okay. And for now, we're not going to do anything. Let me just debug this and see that this is kind of working well. Okay, and save this. And let's play. So if I click on this, we can actually go to the console. Click on this. Oh, I forgot to actually add this function. So if you go to the drop down, where's that drop down actually? Animation. This is the wrong name. This should be animation drop down. Right? Yeah. And this should be connected to our new change animation function. Change animation, right? Okay, so let's see that we didn't break anything. Play. So this 0. Okay, so something is broken. It should have a different value every time I click on it. So let me do this again. So this goes here. Change animation. On value changed in 32. I'm not too happy with what it does. Let me think why this didn't happen before. Just checking I didn't do anything weird. So this is fine. And let's see, runtime. Okay, change animation. So I wanted to change this, but I'm not sure why it's giving me always 0. Let's see what it does on this guy. The other drop down. Okay, change painting shape. Let's see what I did there. Change painting int value. Okay, change animation. I don't know why it so it does something weird. It kind of changes it always gives me the same kind of 0 number, which is bad. I don't want it to do that. Let me just check something. So painting, change shape. If I do this, change animation shape. Oh, here, sorry. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so my problem is I have to select from this dynamic int, not from the static parameters. And that should change that. So now this should be fine. And like you can see, like if I change this, it actually sends the right integer here. Okay. Any questions? Okay. So now let me show you a bug that we have. Actually, before that, let's add that. So we're still working on this. We didn't finish it. I just added the scaffold that we will use for like later on. So let's add this kind of multi-cube game object as a paintable thing. So for that, if you remember, we need to right now we only have one animated cube, so let's add that as option 0 here. So just copy this here, and this, I'll call this multi-cube. And let's just add this game object here, public game object, multi-cube. Okay, and save. Okay, I have a small typo here, which we can fix easily. Okay, and now let's add this in this opening over here. So drag this multi-cube right here, and now you'll see there's going to be an error. So I can paint it, but it's yelling at me. It says there's no render attached to multi-cube clone object, right? So why is it saying so? So it doesn't do that for like these other objects, but it does do it for that object. Because like our object, this multi-cube, is actually an empty, its parent object is an empty, and it doesn't have any kind of material attached to it. So Unity is kind of being annoyed and says like, why are you trying to change the color if you don't have a color component or a color kind of anything here? So the way to deal with it is to look at the code. So it's actually yelling on, if I double click on this error message, it's yelling here on these lines. Okay. So what I would do, I would just the way to do it, the easy way, and there's many fixes you can do. I would just add like a check here. If let's see, spawn get component renderer is not equal to null, then do all of this stuff over here. Okay, and that should fix that. So that should get rid of that problem, and we're not having it anymore, because what we did here, we added like a check. If the actual object we're spawning has a renderer, has a material, if it has a material, this should be not equal to null. Then it can do all this material change code. Okay, so that's the important thing we did. Okay, now we're ready to actually change the animation style. Let's go back to also one more thing I wanted to do before that. Animation type, drop down, draw type. Yeah, let's just change this so it doesn't say sphere, it says multi-cube. Okay. Or like, let's just make it more generic, type 1, type 2, and type 3. Okay, save. Now let's go back to our the code here that we started here with the animation type. So what the idea is, we're gonna kind of go over all these kind of let's just draw this to make it more clear. So I'm drawing this. So we're gonna go over. So if you see here, and let's stop this actually. So we have like a couple of like these objects here. So when you change the animation, what I want to happen is I want to go over all these objects that I painted, and if they have an animator, if they're animated, for example, this object is not animated. If they have an animated kind of component, then change their animation. So So the way to do it is kind of like to iterate over all the components, and I'm going to use this code that we used before for iterating over all the painted components. So let's just copy this code here. This is for destroy, but that is as good as anything. So what I want to do here is I want to check if this guy has an animator component. Okay, so let's just see animator, animator equals child object get component animator. Okay, so this just grabs the animator component if my paintable object has one. So if now I'm going to check that it's not null. So this means that it actually exists. So this is the same thing we did here with the color. So if it's not null, then we're going to do our thing. So the way to change the animation is do animator dot set integer, because why integer? Because we have this parameter here that's based on integers. And let's make this set integer state and animation. Sorry about that. Animation. This parameter here, animation type. Actually, a better name should be animation state. Animation state. Okay, and save this. And let's click play. Okay. So I actually want it to be like all off for this kind of thing. Okay. So yeah, it was not a bug. It was, we just forgot to have this turned off. Okay. Let's see. So we have 1, 2, 3. Any questions on this? No? Are we all cool with what we did? Okay, so you can see like now we have this logic that changes the animation state. And it does do its thing pretty well for all of these objects. And I think we can actually change their size if we want to. We can make them small or large and so on. And we also have this hide button that we can use. Okay. Any questions on this before I move on? No? So one problem here that I have, and I'm not sure if I'll get to this today, is when you're painting stuff. So let's paint let's just click on this. I have this thing and this thing. So I can actually change the color for these static objects. But if I go to my multi-cube object, it doesn't let me change the color. It doesn't matter what I do or not do. And actually, if I try to change the opacity, it yells at me. So why is this happening? It happens because I am, so there's a couple of problems here. So when I'm changing the color, I only check like the parent object if it has a renderer or not. So in my case, for the multi-cube, the parent object here is like an empty, and it doesn't. I'm not really checking if any of its children have not doing anything to the children's color. So what I actually need to do, I need to actually check the children's color component. So what I need to do is actually go over let's see. I actually need to do some sort of thing like what I do here with this transparency. So I actually need to do something like this. I actually need to iterate over all the children components and do this color change. So I'm gonna let you figure this out at home how to do that, because that's something you should be able to do. It's also I'm also gonna link this in the learn at home kind of module. But I think this is something you can do on your own and understand on your own pretty well. Um, so I don't have anything else for today. But again, just to remind you that we have project due next week, project 3, which uses animation and also uses this, whatever we just saw. And next week, we may or may not have a quiz. So I'll let you know later. I haven't decided yet. Okay. And any questions? And for that quiz, that will cover everything we saw so far, including today in class. Okay, so let's stop this.